All right, today we are going to finish up the last section. We broke it up because I know that the whole least common denominator thing is difficult for many of you. So today we are going to finish up section 9.5 and talk about complex fractions. So just that learning goal for today, I can simplify complex fractions with polynomials. And I'm sure you can probably tell just by looking at the problems what a complex fraction is, but in case not, here's our definition. A complex fraction is a fraction that contains a fraction in its numerator and or its denominator. So it's a fraction within a fraction. So we're going to have some steps here in order to simplify these complex things. First, we're going to simplify whatever our numerator is completely, including factoring, getting an LCD, whatever it is we have to do. We're going to simplify the numerator completely. Then we're going to do the same to the denominator. Only then will we be able to actually do the division that is in the middle, which is this. This fraction bar, remember, is a division sign. So we're going to simplify what's up here, then we're going to simplify what's down there, and then we will actually divide them. Then we will simplify the result as we need. All right, so let's look at the first one. 2 over x minus 1 divided by 4 over x minus 1 plus 1 over x. So I'm going to simplify the numerator completely. Well, there is no factoring to be done. There's really nothing I can do. That is in simplest form. 2 over x minus 1 is as much as I can do with that numerator. So that gets to stay. Now I look at the denominator. This is obviously not simplified because I've got an addition sign, which means I need to actually add these two things together, which is what we learned in the last lesson. So what I actually need to do here is find the LCD for those two fractions so that I can add them together. So I look to see if I can factor. This is already in factored form. That's a monomial. So there's nothing else I can do but take both the factors. So I need the x and I need the x minus 1. Those are going to be my LCD. So my left-hand fraction had the x minus 1, but it did not have the x. So I'm going to take the 4 that was there and multiply it by x. So 4x is my new numerator here. Over here, I had the x, but I didn't have the x minus 1. So need to multiply the top by x minus 1. So 1 times x minus 1 is just x minus 1. So, continuing, again, there was nothing else that I could do with that numerator up there, so that's going to stay how it was still. But down here now, I can write this together because the denominator is x times x minus 1, and I can combine my like terms in my numerators. 4x plus x is 5x, and then I've got my minus 1 that didn't have a like term. So, I've got my numerator simplified completely. I've got my denominator simplified completely. Now I need to go ahead and perform the actual division. So when I do that, remember it's really multiplying by the reciprocal. So I've got 2 over x minus 1. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So times, instead of 5x minus 1 being on the top, it's going to be on the bottom. And the x times x minus 1 will now be on the top. So now this goes back to the part that was review from Algebra 1 that we did in Lesson 9.4. This is exactly like what we've already done. We can cross-cancel common factors, so this x minus 1 cancels with this one. And that's it. Remember, you can't cancel these x's because this 5x and this negative 1, they're attached to each other. You can't cancel those out. So 2 times x is 2x, and on the bottom I just have my 5x minus 1. And so that is my answer. All right. I would love for you guys to go ahead and try B on your own. C is a little complicated. We're going to do that one together again. But again, the purpose of this is to see the area where you're struggling. So when I explain the next one, you can focus in on that particular area. So go ahead and try to work through these steps right here for part B. Pause it while you do that and then come back to check your work. All right, so in solving this, simplify the numerator completely. The only thing I can do in that numerator is factor that denominator. It has a GCF of 2, so 2 times x plus 1 is how we would simplify that. These don't cancel, so that's as far as I can go. On the bottom, I actually gave you a pretty easy one here as far as common denominators go. You've got an x and a 2, so that means the common denominator is going to be 2x. So the left side fraction, I need to multiply the top by 2 because that's what I multiplied the bottom by, so 6 times 2 is 12. And the right side fraction, I multiplied by x, so I do the same in my numerator. So now I can go ahead, I've got 15 over 2 times x plus 1 in my numerator. In the denominator, I can combine my like terms, make it one single fraction with a denominator of 2x. And so that's going to give me 12 minus x. And if you want to switch it to negative x plus 12, that's the same thing, but you can leave it this way. So now, numerator's completely simplified, denominator's completely simplified, which means I am now clear to go ahead and perform the actual division. Sorry, forgot to silence my phone there. So now I'm going to do 15 over 2 times x plus 1. And remember, I'm dividing, which means I'm multiplying by the reciprocal, so times. Instead of the 12 minus x being on top, it's on the bottom. And the 2x was on the bottom is now on the top. So now I can go ahead and cross-reduce anything. So these 2's can go away. And that is it. Nothing else can cross-cancel. So in the top, I've got 15 times x is 15x. And in the bottom, I've got x plus 1 times 12 minus x. And that is our answer. So hopefully seeing that gives you an idea of where you are and what you struggled with. So let's look at the last one together here. So first thing I need to do is to simplify my numerator. So 1 minus x over x to the 4th. There is no factoring to do there, so my numerator is actually as simplified as it can be. My denominator, x to the negative 2nd. Remember that that is 1 over x squared. So now to simplify this denominator, I need to factor this part. That has a GCF of x squared, so it's x squared times x plus 1. So that means when I go to find my LCD, I need the x squared, and I also need the x plus 1. So x squared times x plus 1 is my denominator. So now I need to convert. My original left side fraction only had the x squared. It did not have the x plus 1. So I need to multiply its numerator times x plus 1. 1 times x plus 1 is just x plus 1. So there we go. On my second fraction, it already had everything that's in the LCD. So that means I don't need to multiply by anything. I just need to bring its denominator over. So now that I have the common denominators on the bottom, I can go ahead and make it one fraction, so x squared times x plus 1. And now I'm going to combine the like terms. Remember that this is subtraction, so x plus 1 minus 2 is going to give me x minus 1. So I've got completely simplified numerator, completely simplified denominator. Now I can go ahead and I'm going to combine them to do the division. So I've got 1 minus x over x to the 4th. And division is really multiplication by the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip this second fraction. So x minus 1 goes on the bottom. X squared times x plus 1 here. So now I'm going to cross-reduce here this x to the 4th and this x squared. The x squared cancels. And since there were 4 x's here, I canceled 2 of them, so there's 2 left. So x squared remains. This 1 minus x and x minus 1, we dealt with this in the 9-4 lesson. These aren't the same, but they are exactly opposite. This one is positive, this one's negative, this x is negative, this one's positive. So we can reduce these, but remember that when we do that, we make one of them a negative 1. So now I can multiply across. All I've got is 1 times x plus 1, so x plus 1 on the top. On the bottom, I've got negative 1 times x squared, which is negative x squared. And that is going to be my final answer. So, shortest video on record today. Hopefully, you're getting better at finding these LCDs. And that is it for this lesson.